Was last night the Anthony Davis that we will see for the rest of the regular season, and what does it mean for the Mavericks play-in chances? We'll discuss that, all that and more coming up on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. What are the Mavericks play-in chances? And this was last night the real Anthony Davis that we will see for the rest of the regular season. Yes, we were here with you less than 24 hours ago. We are back on our regular show here today. Our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, will be joining us at 12:30 a little bit later on in the show on this terrific Thursday, gentlemen, as we are now 5 games away from the end of the regular season. How are we feeling on this Thursday now afternoon?
Feels like 5 games, I think. It feels like the NBA season started in 2018, but definitely feels like we're getting towards the end.
Yeah, and you know that spring has sprung because it's been raining all morning on and off. I had to wear my dirty shoes so I didn't step in some puddles in my similarly dirty forces that don't keep clean at all. But that does mean, as Dirk Nowitzki always said, he loves the playoffs because of the intensity, and also it's getting warm outside. And there's a little bit of a cold front that's coming through Dallas, but starting next Tuesday, it's going to be in the 80s, and then it's going to be in the 90s, and that means it is playoff time.
See, I just don't worry about stepping in puddles because of all the shuttle drills I did as a child. Elite footwork.
Quick feet.
Yeah, no,
Got
for sure.
But if you've seen Bobby try to switch out on the perimeter, guard a smaller point guard, I played pickup with Bobby. You do not want to see that. And the same thing applies.
You're not switching 1 through 5 when I'm out there.
Oh, you're not switching 1 through 5?
No.
You got 1 through 2?
Or 1 through 2.
He's really good at guarding 6s.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, that's
Oh, my
good.
God. He can lock down a player on the bench.
Well, he's no 6th man of the year on this show. That's for damn sure. Bobby is a starter and a keeper on the DLLS Mavs show. 5 games left in the regular season for your Dallas Mavericks after they get the 121-18 win last night over the Atlanta Hawks. Anthony Davis's game winner with 3.5 seconds left delivered the win for the Mavericks to improve to 38-39 on the year, which gets us to our first conversation of the day, gentlemen, because with 5 games to go, the Mavericks now have a 1.5 game lead on the Sacramento Kings, who lost last night on the road to the Washington Wizards in our nation's capital, which means not only are the Mavericks up 1.5 games on the Kings now are only up, gentlemen, 1 game over the floundering Phoenix Suns, which means there's still a lot of intrigue left in the final 1.5 weeks of the regular season, which means, Bobby, this is a dramatic last 10, 12 days that we have left of the regular season going forward here.
As dramatic as a play-in race goes, if Sacramento keeps losing and Phoenix is able to make it, and then KD is available for the 9-10 game, that becomes a very scary proposition for the Mavs. But if KD is out, or they play the Kings and the Kings don't suddenly, turn into a super team over the next week or two, then I really like the Mavs' chances in the 9-10. Now, moving on beyond that would be much more difficult because you're talking about going on the road, potentially for the 2nd straight game against a team with a significantly better record than you in most of these cases. But Memphis, who's currently in 8th, is like the worst team in the league right now or something. They can't figure out how to win a dang game. They fired their coach. They seem to be in all sorts of turmoil. But all of the other teams they could play, man, Golden State, Minnesota, especially those two, I'm very worried about playing those teams in a series, let alone in 1 game.
Sure.
And then, obviously, the Clippers. The Clippers is kind of funny because if the Mavs go to L.A. tomorrow and the next day and beat the Clippers twice, it's very likely that the Clippers would be the team that they would face in the play-in game. If the Clippers sweep the Mavs, meanwhile, it's very likely the Clippers will make the top 6.
Sure.
So, this weekend's little baseball series out there is probably going to be the determining factor in which teams make the top 6 and which teams make the top 10 or don't this season.
But that kind of works out. If you beat them twice, you feel like you can beat them if you get to play them in the second play-in game. If you lose to them twice, thank goodness the Clippers aren't a matchup you're going to have to deal with. I still feel very confident that Dallas is going to be 9th. I really think they're just going to finish 9th. I don't have any confidence in Sacramento or Phoenix. I think they're going to host and win the play-in game. I don't think it really matters whether it's Phoenix or Sacramento. I think they're going to beat whichever team that they go up against. I get what you're saying with Phoenix. It's always scarier to play elite talents, top 10 players. Kevin Durant can be a top 10 player any night. But I don't know. This Phoenix team isn't scary to me, obviously, for all the reasons we know. Sacramento isn't either. And then if Dallas does end up with Memphis and here's the thing, I'm not sure Memphis at the rate they're going would win their first matchup. But if it's something like Memphis, I don't know who would Memphis match. I think Memphis might be okay against Minnesota.
I don't know,
That's
man.
tough,
It's tough right now.
That's tough. I mean, they can't beat anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they have a lot of continuity.
And of course, game 82. I mean, the Mavs are really like the spoilers here because they also play the Lakers, who currently are a couple games up on of that group of teams that are right around 6, between 5 and 9. But if the Mavs beat the Lakers, that could drop them.
Sure.
And then game 82, obviously, the Mavs play the Grizzlies.
On the road in Memphis.
So, the Mavs are really, the key to this entire playoff this year.
I mean, there's between 3 and 8, only 2.5 games separate those 5 teams.
In fact, let's throw it up on the screen as far as the standings are concerned as well. When you look at the Western Conference, as Tim started to allude to, only what is 2.5 games separate seeds 3 through, that's right, 8 in the Western Conference right now, with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets in a virtual tie right now for the 3 seed in the West. You've got Golden State sitting there at 5, Minnesota there at 6, and Memphis has been free-falling. They have dropped all the way to the 8 seed right now. If the play-in started today, they would be on the road against the Los Angeles Clippers in that 7-8 matchup, and of course the Mavericks would be hosting the Sacramento Kings in the 9-10 matchup if the play-in started today. But as you can see, 6, 7, and 8 all have a 44-32 record. I'm talking about the Timberwolves, the Clippers, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Again, that just gives you an indication on how tight things are right now and how dramatically things can still change here in the last 10 days of the regular season.
And we really have no idea how it's going to turn out, because another team, just like the Mavs, that's playing a lot of these teams down the stretch, another team that's doing that is Denver. Now, the Nuggets last night played the Spurs at home. Granted, it was the second night of a back-to-back, but they inexplicably sat their entire starting lineup and lost that game to the tanking Spurs. They, meaning the Nuggets, play at Golden State on Friday, and then next Wednesday they play at Sacramento, and then they come home to play Memphis, and then they play at Houston. So 4 of their final 5 games are against teams that were just in that graphic. And if the Nuggets win all of those, then they're definitely finishing up there. If the Nuggets lose all of those, the Nuggets could be in the play-in. It's very, very tight, and so many of these teams just end up playing each other. Sacramento plays Minnesota. I think Golden State plays both. There's a lot going on right now.
In fairness, you said inexplicably sat all the starters. Their starters played 53, 45, and 47 minutes.
Inexplicable.
In the double overtime.
That's
right.
Inexplicable.
And then had to immediately turn around and to go play another game.
Back in my day, they would have
played in both of those games. They'd
have got off 48 the next night. Michael Finley would have done it.
Wilt Chamberlain averaged more than 48 minutes one season.
Yep. And they were taking trains to games the day of the game.
The gall of not playing on a back-to-back when you take a plane to the next city.
Trains are actually quite pleasant to travel on. And we've lost a lot of them in this society.
Oh, wow.
Maybe what we've lost, maybe the reason that load management started existing, we got rid of our rail infrastructure.
Wow. A referendum on the
mass transit.
Yeah, mass transit system in America.
The correlation is just a straight line.
Exactly. Spencer Dinwiddie talking last night about the Mavericks play-in chances and what their identity is looking to be in the final 5 games of the regular season as the Mavericks look to secure a play-in spot. Here's what he had to say.
And now getting into the play-in tournament. Sacramento lost again tonight, so you picked up a full game on them.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for home court in that first play-in game. And then, yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the makeup of the team, especially with having a short time together, we're going to have to hang our hat on defense. That usually comes a little bit quicker than offense with this style team. So hopefully we can do that. We can keep teams near 100, and then we have a chance to win any given night against any given team. So, that's kind of our thought process. And as we become more cohesive, we feel like we can compete with anybody.
Nice.
So Dinwiddie obviously talking about the identity of this team and hanging their hat on the defensive end, which we saw in the second half last night, holding to the Atlanta Hawks to what was 46 points after giving up 72 in the first half. And a little bit later on in the show,
those players were also coked up, says Andre.
That's right. That's
no
right.
comment.
No comment. Exactly.
Andre just make the soda.
Yeah,
Not that I would say a brand that doesn't sponsor us.
It's before NBA players cut soda out of their diets.
But that soda was still made the original way. Maybe.
Which was?
With Coke.
I just wanted to see what your answer was going to be. I was interested in what you were going to say about that. But a little bit later on in the show, Anthony Davis talking about the identity for not only him and this team as well, but what that means for the final 5 regular season games for this team. But I thought Dinwiddie's answer was interesting because trying to develop cohesiveness while developing this identity with all their big men back, it feels like there's a lot to do for this team in 5 games to give themselves the best opportunity to not only win the play-in, but potentially find themselves getting into the postseason. There's a lot going on and a lot of moving parts in the final 10 games of the season here. Yeah,
and there are 5 games left, and it's probably maybe a Marc Stein level guarantee that between AD, Gafford, and Lively, probably none of them will play all 5 games. So, we're talking about AD last night played with Derek Lively for the first time. AD played with Gafford last night for the 3rd time. Granted, one of them was 2 months ago. So there's a lot of guys that are learning each other's games at very critical positions. I mean, AD's job is self-described as playing free safety on defense. That requires a lot of communication, anticipation, trust, a lot of verbal stuff, but also nonverbal stuff that you can't really hash out during the middle of a possession. So all of these reps can be very, 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 very important.
Can I read our super chat?
Yeah.
From Michael Flores. Says Dennis Smith Jr. incoming.
Somebody must have read my show notes.
He was at the game last night, and he would be eligible to be signed and play in play-in games and play in the postseason because he was not on an NBA roster as of March 1st. And Dallas has an open roster spot. They could sign a player. Here's the one question, and maybe we can talk.
We're going to talk to Stein about it a little bit later on.
Yeah, we can talk to Stein about this. But if you had the option to sign Dennis Smith for the final 2 games, would you just forgo either of the two-way guys?
It's really tough.
That's tough.
It's a really tough question.
It kind of depends on your situation. If you're up 2 games on Sacramento going into the last 2, you're certain to be 9th, then you can still wait it out. But
then you're talking about incorporating a whole new person.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're talking, is 2 games going to make the difference?
I don't know.
You're saying,
I'm saying if they sign Dennis over like Brandon Williams, for example,
right.
someone that's comfortable,
You're adding
familiar,
someone brand new to the squad.
I mean, quite frankly,
is that just how you win back a fan base?
Bring back a fan favorite in Dennis Smith Jr. I don't know, man.
I wonder if they wouldn't be best off.
Brandon Williams has earned it.
No, that's what I was. Maybe wait till April 2nd and sign both guards because that's what you most desperately need.
Maybe.
You could sign Brandon Williams to a full-time contract and also add Dennis Smith as extra guard insurance because now all your big men are healthy. And quite frankly, Kessler Edwards, as good as he was as a fill-in big man, I don't think his ideal role is a fill-in. I thought he was pretty good as a fill-in big man. I don't love him as much as a 3 or a 4.
Shout out to JP Cantrell in the chat. When I was a kid in the 70s, there was a love train. Love train.
People all over the world,
People
right?
all over the world.
Yep. They're joining in. Yep.
Start a love train. Love train. Let's take our next break here. Only TLL.
You think in the bridge whenever they were saying, ride, You think that was suggestive? Like, is that a euphemism?
Oh,
or-
wow. I think you
No,
just-
they were talking about trains.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The apolitical bipartisan trains.
Yeah.
That's right.
Totally.
There you go. Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, I got some burning questions for my guys here today. And was last night the real AD that we will see for the rest of the regular season? All that and more come up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, the final in the NCAA tournament is coming up on Monday. In the men's tournament, of course, the Final Four is this weekend in both the men's and women's tournament. On April 7th, Happiest Hour, our friends over at Happiest Hour are hosting a championship game watch party. They're going to be giving out prizes, swag, and even some DLLS sports gear all night to people
Let's
that go
go.
to watch the game, no matter who it's between. It's going to be a great place to go. They got more than 40 screens. They have a giant screen right in the middle. They got a Pop-A-Shot machine. They got a ton of great Happy-Tizers. They got Gatoritas there, great drink specials,
yes.
great food prices. It really is a great time. We went and watched a couple games there the day the
did.
tournament started. It was incredible. And I'll be going there actually later today. How about that? I might even enjoy a Happy-Tizer while I'm there.
Wow.
So be sure if you're trying to go watch the men's final on Monday, there is no better place to do it than Happy Hour. You could win yourself a whole bunch of cool stuff, including, like I said, some DLLS sports gear.
If you're not going to be hanging out at Happiest Hour and you want to go to the games themselves, you got to use Game Time to get your tickets. Game Time is the best place to go if you're looking for tickets to concerts, sporting events, or in my case, me going to WrestleMania here in a couple of weeks at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas for a 2-night extravaganza on April 19th and 20th. Can't wait to go as I'll be heading to Las Vegas. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. That makes getting your tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. They've got all-in pricing as well, so you know exactly what you're going to pay before you get to checkout, so you're not surprised by any hidden fees when you get ready to pay for your tickets. And they got panoramic seat views, so I knew exactly where I was going to sit and where I wanted to sit before I purchased my tickets as well, so I could have the best view of watching John Cena and Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship on night 2 of WrestleMania. So if you want to take the guesswork out of buying your tickets, you got to do so with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Gentlemen, what time is it?
Game time?
Who? I got some burning questions for my guys here on the DLLS Mavs podcast after the Mavericks got the win last night over the Atlanta Hawks 120-118. They are off today before they go on the road to visit the Los Angeles Clippers and see the Wall in Intuit Dome for the first time in the regular season. Will the Dallas Mavericks is able to play a back-to-back baseball series, Marc Stein, who we will have on coming up here in our next segment on both Friday and Saturday before they welcome back Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers next Wednesday. We got some burning questions, gentlemen, on our show. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
I've never been readier.
All right, well, here you go. Last night, Anthony Davis, monster night, as Bobby pointed out during our postgame show. First ever Maverick to have at least 34 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks in a game, and a dominant effort in his best performance in a Mavericks uniform. So, gentlemen, Tim, I'll start with you. Was last night the version of Anthony Davis that we will see for the rest of the regular season?
No, he's going to get better.
Oh, I like what you did there.
He's going to average 50, 20, and 10 the rest of the season.
If he averages 10 blocks a game for the rest of the regular season, yeah.
Oh, I was talking about assists, actually.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
All right.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a triple double.
I don't look, we don't know. And a lot of this is his health. That is the main thing about this. It was notable to me when Anthony Davis said last night that he said he was not feeling pain, that he felt good on the court, but he was still not going 100%. And tonight or last night when he, after a midday nap, a pregame nap, he was like, I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to physically do everything that, I expect of myself. Those were his words. And he said, whatever happens, happens. My best impression or guess or feeling is that it's still going to be a little bit up and down with Anthony Davis from here on out. But I do think that we're going to see more this, something closer to this version of Anthony Davis more often. from now until the end of the year, and which is not, we'll see, but it's not too far. But I do think that there's probably going to be at least a few more moments where it is a little bit up and down. But I'm excited to see this version of Anthony Davis. And also, the thing about Anthony Davis, the story that's always been with Anthony Davis, is that he can be just a little inconsistent, specifically his offense. And so even if physically he's 100% there, like, there's going to be games where it just doesn't click perfectly for him. But I think we're going to see a more consistent version of him.
Yeah, consistency is a big thing. Now, I don't think he's going to consistently go for 34, 15, and 5. I mean, that would be pretty remarkable. But I said that really loud. My bad. I think he's going to be closer to that than to the 12-point outing he had against Brooklyn the previous game. And that's what the Mavs need. They need that guy that can consistently give them 20, 25, 30 points, attract defensive attention, because you can play off of that. And I think we'll see that in two main ways. Number one, they ran a little out-of-bounds ATO where Davis, essentially, they set up like a pick and roll right in the middle of the floor at the free throw line between AD and Gafford. AD hit him with the lob. It was very like Cat Gobert kind of stuff, in their time together with the Wolves. We'll see, as they play together more, both AD and Gafford and AD and Lively, maybe they can incorporate that more. That's also a really good way to create switches. If teams put their big on AD, you can maybe force a smaller player onto him. And then number two, in the fourth quarter, they are not really playing through him in the way that I would like them to in crunch time. Granted, it's only been a few games, but if he has it going and you dump it down to him or give it to him face up at the free throw line, whatever, you could command a double team. You could force some sort of weird overreaction, which could make things easier for other people, because right now the Mavs don't have the speed. They don't have that, next level ball handling and playmaking to find easy shots in crunch time. The best way to do it, I think, right now is to play through AD and hope that the defense overreacts. So with more consistency and with more, careful kind of deployment and a little more creativity, I think that they can find something there.
Yeah, the most telling stat from last night was what both teams shot at the rim. Atlanta shot 41%. Dallas shot 88%. These are just shots directly at the rim. Now, Dallas didn't get there as much as you would like. They only took 17 shots there. Atlanta got there a reasonable amount, a bit above average. Got there, took 27 shots at the rim. If you went back and watched every single shot, certainly there's some that you could say, oh, Atlanta just, variance. Atlanta just missed them. They easily could have converted that one. It, probably wasn't Dallas's influence. But really good rim protecting teams do tend to spook players at the rim as well. Sometimes you just get a little hurried and panicked when you get there. So if this is what Dallas can do in terms of rim conversion, just because Atlanta got there more, they did not score there more, because Dallas was so good at converting what they did produce, which was a bunch of lobs. And a big reason why they didn't get there as much is just the lack of guards right now, the lack of Brandon Williams, the lack of drives. But I thought that was very telling and very indicative of the way Dallas envisions this team playing.
If we saw what we did in the first quarter from Anthony Davis going forward for the rest of the year, I think that's a good indication that he is playing at the kind of level that we know that he's capable of. He came out in their first quarter ultra aggressive, was 4 of 7, had 13 points, and offensively really set the tone for this team. And you could tell that he was playing with the kind of movement closer to what we are accustomed to seeing when it comes to Anthony Davis, and the confidence of that just continued to grow throughout the rest of the game, to where you saw him have the game-winning shot with 3.5 seconds left, going to his left and being able to hit that tough floater with that right hand there. That is the Anthony Davis that we have seen become one of the best two-way players in the game, and obviously one of the guys that you feel like can have that kind of impact night in and night out. The aggressiveness of Anthony Davis was something that I really enjoyed last night, and hopefully that is a sign of things to come in the final 5 games of the regular season. Bobby, I'll throw this one to you to start off with. Outside of Anthony Davis, as we go through our Mavericks burning questions here, outside of Anthony Davis, which player is the most vital to the success of the Mavericks for the rest of the season?
Probably Dinwiddie.
I feel like the answer is Dinwiddie, and so we can almost move past. Honestly, do you want to just do a really quick ranking? I think it's Anthony Davis, Spencer Dinwiddie. Who would you put third? I've got Derek Lively, because I just think he's the second best player on the team.
I just don't know if he's going to get to that point this.
But I think he's the second best player that they have available. So if he can get back there,
I think after that would be PJ probably.
That's who I would go with third. I would go AD, Spencer Dinwiddie, and then PJ Washington. We know what kind of Swiss Army knife game that PJ Washington presents before he was missing the game with the illness, had been averaging over 20 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field in his last 6 or 7 games, and really being aggressive from a scoring standpoint. So if we're going to go with Dinwiddie as the consensus, I think when it comes to that player outside.
We're frozen online. Yeah, our screen froze, and looks like YouTube's froze too.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, we will keep going. Just in case.
I don't know. Are we still on air?
I think we're
pop in the chat if you can hear us talking. But yeah, we definitely appears we froze.
Oh,
okay.
Well, there we go. So they heard everything we just said just now, but that's fine.
Well, Spotify and iTunes will just be like,
this is your show today. This is your show today.
Yeah. Well, we can keep
going.
doing the podcast version as Tanner tries to solve the video. Oh, well.
Hi, Tanner.
Hi, Tanner.
Hi, Tanner.
Hi, Tanner. So I was gonna say.
Oh my gosh,
there
we're
we go.
back.
We're back.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Oh, they can hear. It's like they heard all of it. There we go.
Yeah. Well, we didn't say anything. We didn't. We didn't shout any ad sponsors. We didn't say any ad sponsors who didn't sponsor us. Yeah.
Oh, they saw Tanner just now. Yes. We've been wanting to get more FaceTime for Tanner, and you got a face full of it just now.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Yeah, it's got to be PJ and Dinwiddie. I think Dinwiddie, obviously, because that goes without saying. PJ is really the guy that's going to play a lot of minutes that outside of AD can create his shot at multiple levels of the floor, around the rim, off drives, in transition, mid-range face-up drive, a little bit in the post, out to the three-point line mostly as a catch and shooter, but he made a step back, the other day and is trying to start pulling up a little more. So, just the ability to play through him for more than just one possession at a time, I think, is what makes him really important. And then after that, it's probably the bigs.
I'll give one shout out who, probably not literally the most important player, but maybe Caleb Martin. I think we've seen that the defense, even as they've improved the rim protection, they're showing more grit and fight there. It's the defense has yet to have its standout moment, its standout performance. And I think Caleb Martin is their best wing perimeter player. He is their best point of attack player. And I worry that some of the players that they're putting out there as point of attack defenders are a little bit slower, are a little bit spacier. And so Caleb Martin, if he can prove offensive competency, if he can go out there and hit shots, we've seen it before in the postseason. If he can not be a weakness on the offensive end, I think he adds a lot to the defense and unlocks the way that they're trying to play and unlocks a lot of, the plus rim protection that they have.
The question I would be, as we get ready to go to break here, how do they consistently do this in terms of their capabilities within the minutes restrictions that the guys are playing with? I mean, Anthony Davis is still on a minutes restriction. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively II is on a 15-minute restriction. For what we understand, Caleb Martin is still on a minutes restriction himself. These guys are playing together in spurts, but at the same time, with their injury and their health concerns, how much are they able to do this in enough time and consistently enough to be able to put this all together? Because not only trying to cram all this in the final 5 games of the regular season, which it feels like this last 5 games feels like you're studying for a test at the very last minute and trying to cram it all in to be able to perform at your best when you need to most and the biggest pressure when it comes to the play-in and the playoff situation. And I don't know if they will have enough time to be able to get the kind of consistency that they need to put this all together in a way that can credibly believe that they can do this going forward in a postseason situation.
Yeah, Jason Kidd got asked that last night before the game. He was asked, can the team peak? And that was something that the team talked about last year, about peaking at the right time going into the postseason. Jason Kidd was like, we have to focus on the game tonight. We can't talk about peaking. Yeah, I think he said this is a different situation than last season. And he's right.
Well, I mean, last season they go to the finals after making these trades in February. Let's not forget, a month after the deadline, they lost like 5 out of 6 or whatever. They had to have a team meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, this
5
team,
of 7.
5 of 7, yeah, and a lot of them humiliatingly, big blowouts, the biggest blowouts you've ever seen.
Twice.
And so, it was not all rosy for them right after the deadline. It took a month of figuring things out before they finally clicked, and they rode that high all the way to the finals. This team will have like 2 weeks together, if that, going into the play-in, which is do or die twice. So it's a much different situation. It's very challenging. But if nothing else, you're at least seeing something that you can believe in heading into the offseason.
And I see it, Charlie, Saturday. Yeah, the fact that all these guys are back between AD, Gafford, and Lively. I had been on record saying I didn't think we would see any of these three together for the rest of the regular season. And yet here we are getting games in together before we get to the end of the regular season and the play-in. So kudos to them for working their way back and getting back for this team to give themselves a chance going into the play-in and potentially into the postseason. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we welcome in our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, where he and Bobby Karalla are going to fight about the plan. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts. They're dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to the big box stores. You wander around, endless aisles. Feels like Severance down there. Then somehow you're hauling all these materials home. You're looking for an installer. You're coordinating everything yourself. They might have a flooring department, those big box stores, big box scores, I keep trying to say. Basketball at the heart. But the person helping you with the flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Howdy, partners. It's time for the American Rodeo at Globe Life Field on April 11th and 12th. The richest weekend in rodeo returns for 1 weekend only at the home of the Texas Rangers. Don't miss the world's top rodeo athletes compete against the brightest rising stars in the sport for over $3 million in prize money. World champions Haley Kinsel, Stetson Wright, Jackie Crawford, and Casey Field return to Globe Life Field with an American Rodeo title on the line. Over 150 rodeo athletes compete over 2 days for a shot, Bobby, at $1 million.
That is a lot of cash.
That's a lot of cash, a lot of queso for you potentially at some point down the road.
So much queso.
Who will be rodeo's next millionaire? It's not just about the rodeo, but it's a hell of a party as well, as Bailey Zimmerman and also Riley Green and Ella Lang will be performing during that weekend. It's back-to-back nights of unmatched competition at the American Rodeo. Friday is the final qualifying round where dreams are made or broken. Then Saturday is the championship round where the best of the best go head-to-head for the ultimate title over 1 weekend. 2 unforgettable nights at Arlington. Go to AmericanRodeo.com for your tickets today. Let's welcome in our national NBA insider and our partner here on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Mark!
He's not the only one wearing a hat today, as I am wearing one as well. But he is, of course, our national NBA insider. You can find him on X at the Steinline. He, of course, is Marc Stein. Mark, what's going on?
Gentlemen, how are we?
Oh, you got some
good,
bass in your
man.
voice today. What's
We are
going on
good.
here?
That microphone is
What's
working.
wrong?
Yeah, the microphone sounds good.
Too loud?
No, you're good.
No, you
You're
sound
good.
great.
You sound great. This is the part where me and Tim exit the show, and you and Bobby Karalla
Don't
get
oversell it.
Are you kidding me? I'm selling this like crazy.
I could never get fired up toward my friend Marc Stein, whom I greatly respect.
Well, let's give it a couple minutes and find out.
I mean, let's do an ISO cam. I'll leave.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like, the two of us are gonna go
Yeah.
You just want to go home.
because Marc Stein and Bobby Karalla, they have some differing opinions when it comes to the play-in, and also, we love Mark, and he loves his baseball series, don't you, Mark? Love your baseball series.
My first question is, why did you take the hat off?
It's a little hot on the dome right now. It's a little warm
Okay.
inside the studio right now, so go let it
Okay.
breathe a little bit.
Fair.
Yeah, go let it
Fair
breathe.
enough.
Go ahead.
Look, you guys know there are not many recent NBA innovations that I like, but I actually like the plan. So I'm really more surprised that Bobby is just so vehemently against it, because I think one thing, well, maybe I should let Bobby just reiterate why he is so against it, and then maybe I can then offer my counters.
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump in. To give some backstory, the other night we did talk about this on a post-game show whenever the Mavs lost to the Nets, and then Stein was blowing up the group chat during, like, Bobby, what the hell, man?
Yes.
So these are the reasons why I don't really like the plan. I think first off, so many teams already make the playoffs, and it's already we very rarely ever see a team lower than 4th make any type of significant playoff run to the conference finals or beyond. And in our lifetimes, I think 1 8 seed has gone. It was Miami, who obviously did make the playoffs through the plan, but Miami did go to the finals in 2023, and that finals was kind of clowned on as being sort of like a fake championship for the Nuggets because they didn't play a single team that won 50 games or whatever. So I really feel like expanding the playoffs is only diluting it. It's not making it any more special, and there's already so many games. So why do we have to add more games to determine who's going to be the sacrificial lambs to the 1 and the 2 seed? And therefore, it feels a little contrived to me. And Mark, I'm trying to speak to you as a basketball romantic here. I want to watch meaningful games. And the play-in games they're played hard, they're played frantically. They are a game 7 for both teams, in both the 7 and 8 and the 9 and 10. And then of course the big finale. There is desperation and there is drama, but it just feels so fake and meaningless. It's like watching a play-in game to the NCAA tournament because it's cool, but then they're just going to lose probably the next game. So the meaning is really kind of diminished for me. And I also think it prohibits teams from making trades around the deadline because so many teams, foolishly believe that they have a chance. Like, there's just a lot of reasons why I don't really like it, and so I'm curious to hear which one you hate the most.
Well, look, I mean, I don't blanket love it. Like, one of the things that does bug me is, I think Jason Tatum had a 50-point game in a play-in game, and it doesn't really exist in the record books. Like, they don't know what to do with play-in stats. I mean, that's always bothered me because it's not the regular season and it's not playoffs. But in general, what I think the league is trying to do with it, and I do think there is some good in this, it's trying to prioritize a top 6 finish because you don't want to be a 7 or 8 who ends up in a play-in game and loses on a bad night and your whole season is ruined. So I think what the league is trying to do is to say finishing in the top 6 means so much more now because you're safe at number 6, that their thinking was this will be an anti-tanking measure that convinces teams to hold on to the proverbial rope late in the regular season if they're still a 10 or a 9, because you only have to have, I mean, look, the reality is, as roller coaster and nightmarish as this Mavericks season has been, if they have 2 good nights play-in week, they're going to the playoffs. Now, that might not be the desired outcome for everyone in our chat room and everyone on this show, because obviously there's a lot of people in town now who would love to see the Mavs get a lottery pick. But the thought that you're going to keep trying to win if you're a 10 or a 9 or an 8, I do think that is a good thing in this era when, look, we got enough teams tanking already. What would it be if, we just went with the old top 8 the way we used to do it? I think it gives a level of spice that, like I said, you guys know I am not a fan of the in-season tournament. As Kevin Gray loves to point out, anytime a baseball series comes up, I ain't a fan of that either. But I like the play-in tournament. I think the play-in tournament has been a positive again because, like, you see it with all these teams in the West: Golden State, Memphis, Minnesota. Who am I leaving out there? Golden State, Memphis Minnesota.
Doesn't seem to want to win, but the Clippers are in there.
Mm-hmm.
The Clippers were the other one. That, like, you want to finish 6th so badly because you finish 7th and have a bad week. I mean, your season could be destroyed.
But I feel like, you should want to finish 6th or higher anyway, because the history of 8 seeds in the playoffs is just so bad. We obviously, living in Dallas, we have vivid memories of 20 years ago, but
I have vivid memories of Memphis trying to get to 8 because they thought they matched up better with San Antonio. I mean, I hope I'm remembering that right now. You got me doubting my own memory.
Well, in 2011, yeah, because Manu got hurt, and Memphis did end up winning that series, right?
Like,
they did, yeah.
I I do think the urgency to get to 6 has been a good thing in general for the league.
So I would argue that if the play-in tournament didn't exist, there would be a urgency to get to 7. So all these teams would still be scrapping and fighting. Nobody wants to play OKC in the first round. I think more often than not, there is a dominant team in the conference. There are obviously exceptions and exceptional circumstances, like the number 1 seed having an injury to Manu Ginobili, and all of a sudden a team, fighting.
Or the Mavs existing.
Or the Mavs existing. I like that the play-in team gives a little bit of saving grace to teams that went through just horrific injury stretches like Dallas. I don't think it would be better for the league if Anthony Davis hadn't come back. Do you know how many times I saw the official NBA Twitter account post about Anthony Davis last night?
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely good for the league that this exists, because otherwise Dallas would have no choice but to tank because they would be out of the playoffs. I think that's good. I think it's a half measure. I don't know what the fix is to teams tanking. Maybe it is the wheel proposal. Maybe it is something else. Maybe there is some sort of proposal. I think that for the most part, every team in the play-in is never, I think there are very rare instances that it's actually going to benefit somebody. I don't know if we're going to see another team like the Miami Heat go to the finals in the next decade. Like, I think that's just really unrealistic to expect out of any team. And so, yeah, you're putting more games in, to me, I guess my point, yeah, it's a half measure. It's a half measure to address tanking. I still think the fundamental aspect of lose a bunch of games and you get rewarded with a great player, I think something about that model, I just want there to be a better method for that. But as a half measure, I think the play-in is fine.
Yeah, and Mark, like, the real heart of this, kind of dovetailing off what you said, Tim, is teams at this point in the year are incentivized not only to lose, but like to lose strategically enough to increase their chance of something that is already really unlikely to happen. Like, even the worst team only has whatever, a 14% chance at the number 1 pick or something like that. I mean, there are Mavs fans now that are like, the Mavs need to lose to increase their chance from 0.5 to 1.5 or 2% to get the number 1 overall pick. Like, these are such minuscule odds that you have, but teams take, like Philly right now is taking extraordinary measures to give their youth some extra playing time and shut down their players to preserve them from next year or whatever, so that they don't lose their first round pick. Like, I think the lottery shouldn't exist.
I mean, I've just yet to hear a proposal for what takes its place. I mean, I do think also the flattening of the lottery odds has helped to a degree, because, I mean, look at Detroit. They had the worst record in the league 2 years in a row, and didn't they end up 5th both times? I mean, they fell all the way to 5th. So it's like, it's much harder just to win the number 1 pick than it's ever been because of the flattened odds. And in Philly's case, it's, they're trying to lose because of a protection issue. I mean, they're trying to make sure that they don't outright
protections.
I agree.
Yeah. You can do lottery protections, but that's it.
Yeah.
And that's been a big discussion point. Yeah, because it's like, that's why Philly's doing what they're doing. I mean, they're because they're so, their pick is only top 6 protected. So I mean, there's so many issues, and I mean, the wheel, I can't even understand the wheel proposal. Like, I mean, it's like, sum that up in 30 seconds. I mean, it's difficult right now, like I said, to really, what are the better alternatives?
That's the hard thing.
I mean, to be honest, I've liked the play-in tournament in its iterations, but also I didn't see what was wrong with having the top 8 teams make the playoffs and then we go about our business. Obviously, there was, I would imagine, concerns about ratings, creating more games, more money, more television.
That's the thing. It's just all fake.
Yeah, like, you created a situation where there are going to be more games on television, more money generated, more teams will have an opportunity to host another home game, which means more home revenue. And there's a lot of things at play here that I think for the casual fan, they don't necessarily give a damn about. They just want to see the best 8 teams from each conference get to the postseason and go duke it out from there, instead of creating things that may or may not determine how the outcomes of these postseasons look in the NBA.
But then again, I mean, like, I think there are more fans of Anthony Davis than there are fans of I'm not trying to stoke a war or anything, but like then there are maybe fans of Ja.
Sure.
Or there are more fans of Kyrie if Kyrie were healthy than there are fans of James Harden. So like, there are reasons to want these teams that are dealing with injuries to make it in. To it's going to make more people happy. But gosh, what's 12 teams going to make it soon?
Yeah,
like
it may be.
Where does it stop?
That's the thing. You're on maybe on a potential slippery slope, but nonetheless, the Mavericks are trying to qualify for the play-in, and that's where we are, and that's what we got. And we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the regular season. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, more with our national NBA insider Marc Stein as we dial up the Stein line as we look toward what the schedule could look like for Anthony Davis as the Mavericks get ready to play a back-to-back tomorrow against the Clippers. All that more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, what are y'all doing on Friday, April 25th?
I will be in Fort Worth. And that morning I will be at watching some golf. I'm sorry.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
That's right. Yes, some golf.
I will be opening some Lone Stars.
Friday, April 25th is the inaugural Lone Star Open.
That's right.
At Stevens Park Golf Course. That is minutes away from downtown. Beautiful views, a beautiful course. Hopefully the weather is going to be amazing like it was a few days ago, not like it was today. It is a scramble, so you're playing in foursomes. You can either sign up as a foursome, or you can sign up just with yourself, or with you and one other person, get paired with other people. But you should come play with us. Come hang out with us. We got DLS personalities that can be playing. Those of us that don't golf are going to be just hanging out.
Yeah, hang out.
Probably
real hard.
Maybe imbibing a little bit.
That's
maybe
right.
talking a little trash. Maybe taking some pics, taking some vids. Talking sports. Talking Mavs Thunder. How
Talking
about
pro
that?
Wrestling, maybe.
Maybe KG will be doing that. I don't know.
Ben and I will talk about some pro wrestling. Damn it.
If you want to sign up, hey, there's a link on our website to go sign up. And if you want to save yourself some money whenever you sign up, you can save 20% by becoming a diehard. Scan the QR code. Click the link in the description below or alldlls.com/diehard. You get discounts on all our events. You don't have to be a diehard to go, but you get a discount. You get a free shirt right when you sign up, and you get a discount on any other gear that you want. We got a couple shirts that are about to drop that I'm very fired up for. If you're a Stars fan, you can also read the entire website, all the premium paywalled stuff written by folks like Tim Cato, who's got some things down the pipeline that are going to be very interesting to read, I promise. And you get to join the DLS Diehard Discord. Great place to go hang out. A lot of fun people in there, a lot of great conversations during games, on off days, and so on. And finally, you get your physical diehard cards.
That's
so many reasons to do it. Thank you to each and every one of you who have.
Shout out to Michael, who says his birthday is on April the 25th.
Oh, let's go.
So happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
You can come hang out with us and play some golf. And hang out with your favorite DLS sports personalities, including our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, who we bring back in here on the DLLS Mavs podcast as we finish up on our show today. Remember, our pregame show tomorrow will begin, yes, boys and girls, and Bobby Carella, at 9 p.m., as the Mavericks visit the Los Angeles Clippers for a 9:30 tip-off.
Illegal.
In Los Angeles.
Should not be allowed.
Agreed. Neither should back-to-backs at this stage of the regular season, but that's where we are as we dial up the Stein line here. Anthony Davis, of course, a monster night last night against the Atlanta Hawks. Two very important games coming up, starting tomorrow night and on Saturday against the Clippers. Coming back from this injury, what does it look like for Anthony Davis in terms of his plan to play? Is he going to be playing in both of these games, given him coming back from this injury when it comes to Davis here?
I would say I don't think we have a definitive answer. If you would have asked me last week, I would have said he only plays one of the games for sure. The vibe I got last night was they're still evaluating it, and I genuinely don't know if they've reached an ultimate determination. My instinct, my gut would still say that he only plays one of the two. But again, things are so fluid and have been constantly changing. I mean, I remember hearing in Chicago there was a thought that Lively would come back before Gafford, and obviously that's not how it played out. Gafford came back before Lively, so I mean, it's too fluid, I think, to make the call. But, Tim was there as well yesterday when AD talked at his locker. And I mean, the best thing is whether he plays in both ends of the back-to-back or not, like, I think he cleared a hurdle last night, a mental hurdle. I mean, he was passive in the Brooklyn game, and he gave a very thoughtful and detailed answer about how I just told myself I've got to play. I've got to play freely and try to not, not overthink the situation, because he was saying, Anthony Davis was talking about how even though he wasn't feeling discomfort, but there was just some hesitation there. And last night against Atlanta, he played without hesitation. He played free. He was all over the rim, throwing himself on the floor, playing with a sense of abandon. And I think we all saw the difference. So whether he plays one or both of these games at Intuit Dome, the more important thing to me is, can he just keep doing that? Can he just, if he's going to play free and let it rip?
We will see for Anthony Davidson when it comes to the back-to-back that the Mavericks will play starting tomorrow against the Los Angeles Clippers. Another player of note who isn't in a uniform of any kind right now, but a former fan favorite of, I would say for a lot of fans, still a fan favorite. Dennis Smith Jr., former Dallas Maverick, was in the building last night as well. The Mavericks do have a roster spot open. They've got some decisions to make when it comes to some two-way players, Brandon Williams, Kessler Edwards. You can throw Kai Jones in there if you want to, but at the same time, Dennis Smith Jr. was in the building. What can we make of that as far as Dennis Smith Jr. last night?
Well, I know the basketball romantics on this show. I'm one of those, but I'm really talking about the Corellustrator here. I know you guys want DSJ signed yesterday.
Dennis, my guy. I love that guy.
Look, I don't know that you're going to get your wish. This season, I'm hesitant to rule out anything because there's just been a surprise around every corner. But I don't believe he was there last night because it portends anything in the way of a future signing. But again, I'm not going to sit here like I've done some checking on it. I don't have a clear-cut steer on it either way at this point. I mean, there is, once the Mavs get to the April 10th, 12th range, the last couple days of the season, they will finally get the financial flexibility. And earlier today, I tweeted about the Pelicans getting an injury hardship exception, and instantly had a bunch of Mavs fans tweeting back at me, why don't the Mavs get one of those? Haven't they have enough hardship? And again, the issue with the Mavs have a roster spot. They don't need a hardship exception. What the Mavs don't have is wiggle room under the first apron. The Mavs can only spend $50,000-ish in new money for the rest of the season. And the only way they can do that before they slam into the first apron is to wait until those last couple days of the regular season. And then the prorated salaries for one or even two players will be low enough that they can make signings. So that's why April 10th, we've talked about, they can convert one of their two ways to a standard contract. Brandon Williams has played so well, and there is such a need for guards. I mean, you would think they have to add Brandon Williams because they're going to need him in the play-in games. I mean, he's become a guard, a part of this guard rotation, and they need him. Now, they could create a second roster spot by releasing Dante Exum, not because they want to, and remember, they would forfeit Dante Exum's early bird rights in that scenario. But Dante Exum can't play for the rest of the season. He has a season-ending injury. So the Mavs will have the option of letting sorry, guys, can't stop coughing today. They will have the option of letting Exum go and creating another roster spot. But do you give that, I heard Tim talk about this in the first segment, and he's exactly right. Dennis Smith was not on an NBA roster on March 1st. So he is playoff eligible. If he can sign with a team any team. He can sign with any team on the last day of the season and be playoff eligible with that team. But I have to say, like, Williams and Edwards have been such huge parts of this season's team, it would strike me as surprising if you do sign 2 players, it would surprise me if it wasn't those 2, because again, they've been here all season and they ended up filling pretty significant roles.
Do you think, from just your opinion and point of view, do you think there would be mutual interest between the Mavericks and Dennis Smith Jr. in a potential reunion in your mind?
I mean, Dennis Smith Jr. obviously would love to come back. I mean, he hasn't been in the NBA all season. He's at it, he went briefly to Real Madrid. That didn't work out. He came right back. So I'm sure Dennis Smith Jr. would love the idea of joining the Mavs for the last day or 2 of the regular season and then being eligible to play in the play-in games. I mean, I don't think there's any question that he would love that. I'm still trying to figure out, like I said, I don't want to sit here and blanket say, no, it is impossible, because it hasn't been expressed to me that clearly, and I need to do more reporting on it. But to the best that I can give you a read right now, I don't believe that's the direction that the Mavericks are leaning. But again, this season, expect the unexpected.
No, for sure. Still a lot to be determined, whether it be roster spots or just the regular season in and of itself. Last couple of minutes before we end our show today, just your thoughts on this weekend, obviously with the 2 games that the Mavericks have against the Clippers before what we know is coming on April the 9th. Your thoughts on where the Mavericks stand now, just a game under 500 going into these couple of games starting tomorrow against the Clippers.
I'm selfishly and personally sad because I think I told you guys this. I think I even said it on the show. My plan was to go to those 2 games in LA because, as you guys know, the Clippers, that was my first beat in the NBA, and I really want to see the Intuit Dome. I haven't had a chance to go there this season, so my plan all along was, you know what? I'm going to send myself to LA and go with the Mavs and be there for that baseball series. But there's honestly just so much to do between now and next Wednesday's game, which I don't even need to say what next Wednesday's game is. There's just so much to do to get ready for that I frankly just was like, I got to cancel this. I can't do it. I don't have time to go to LA right now. So I'm a little bit sad because I was a Clipper beat writer first. I covered the Lakers as a beat writer when they were in Inglewood. So I would love to see this building because I've heard so much about it. But I guess it will have to wait until, I don't know, maybe do we get a Mavs Clippers play-in game?
I was about to say that, Mark. If there may be a game in the Intuit Dome very soon. It's possible. It's plausible.
And a fun fact, the first team to ever play a game against the Clippers in that building, Dallas Mavericks actually opened up the Intuit Dome with a preseason game.
Exhibition game. So
they could open and end their season. The Mavericks
could be a full circle moment coming up here shortly.
Do we both go to that one? Do we wrestle for that one? Do we have a Pop-A-Shot contest? How do we decide?
Ooh, we should.
I guess we're gonna find out.
Oh,
We should.
Pop-A-Shot to determine who
Live
goes to Los
stream
Angeles.
Pop-A-Shot
Okay.
on the DLLS one.
No, I'm not live streaming Pop-A-Shot. Too old for that.
Mark, we appreciate you joining us on the show. Your man Charlie Saturday says what's up as well. So we will make sure that we talk to you tomorrow. It's gonna be a late one. Get your pregame nap in. Get your AD pregame nap in because we got a pregame show that's at 9 and then our postgame show the next morning.
I need those games being that late because, like I said, I got so much to do. I'm off now to see our guys at PHNX. I will see you guys tomorrow night.
All right. Appreciate you. That is our National NBA Insider, Marc Stein. You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. That'll do it for us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Again, we sincerely appreciate all of you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Don't forget, tomorrow, our pregame show, a late one, boys and girls, at 9 p.m. as tip-off will be at 9:30 p.m. as your Mavericks take on the Los Angeles Clippers for back-to-back games beginning on Friday and Saturday. Both of those games starting at 9:30 p.m.
We got to dig deep this weekend, boys.
That's right. So make sure you get your nap in, get your coffee, get your energy drink, get whatever you need. It's going to be a late one tomorrow night. Again, our pregame show will begin at 9 p.m. we will have our post-game show with our National NBA insider Marc Stein, our Mavs beat writer Tim Cato as well on the program 15 minutes after.
At midnight.
After that game is over with. We appreciate our guy Tanner to make us look good and sound good as always. Thank you, sir. That is our Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. That is our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 9 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all have a good rest of your Thursday. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.